Well, hello everybody out there in YouTube and podcast land. This is Jason. Wyatt's on the line with me.
I am. We're here. We're doing this live and raw, unedited. What you hear most of the time on the podcast has been very well manipulated by Jason. Uh, so you're going to get the raw and the bloopers and everything to boot.
Right. Just wanted to give everybody an opportunity to listen in on how we record and what the difference is between the raw audio and all the work that goes into making it a entertaining podcast with the clips and the intro and all that stuff. But it's fun, and you get to hear our little mistakes. And if we get a lot of viewers and people listening in to these recording sessions, then maybe we can start taking some questions on the fly or reading some comments about certain parts of the episode as we review. I think that would be fun too.
I agree.
Well, I think we've got I've got all of my notes and stuff up. Are you ready to start the podcast officially?
I'm ready to start the official MASKast.
All right, I got my notes up.
I got my notes this time. I don't know what happened to my 2 week for the last two MASKasts, but I got them this time.
Thank you. Good.
Venom has not attacked me this time, as Doug Stone and you were talking about some time ago.
Yeah, that was fun. But got our poll up. We've got our couple comments, and I got my notes. So we'll rock and roll here, okay?
Sounds good.
All right. Welcome, listeners, to MASKast 46 and another episode review of the Mobile Armored Strike Command animated series. In this podcast, we will continue our fourth season journey of MASKast, covering episodes 31 through 40, with episode 33, Caesar's Sword. Coming up, you'll hear our play-by-play commentary mixed in with audio clips from the episode. We'll also give our personal ratings and review of the good and bad parts of the episode, and as always, we'll read your listener feedback on the air via our agentsofmask.com website. All of our listeners are invited to interact with us prior to each podcast by clicking on the MASKast assignment in the right-hand column on our homepage. Listener feedback includes voting in our 1 to 5 rating poll and reviews left in the comments section. And don't forget, if you want to listen to our recording sessions now, be looking for the Google Hangout invitation in our Facebook and Twitter feeds, or connect with us over on our YouTube channel. The Caesar Sword episode was originally broadcast on my 9th birthday, November 13th, 1985 in the U.S., and features Sly Rax posing as Julius Caesar's ghost in order to scare off archaeologists who have discovered the long-lost Sword of Victory. It's up to M.A.S.K to stop Venom from possessing the sword and the mystical power that goes with it. I'm one of your hosts, Jason, and with me as always is my longtime friend and co-host, the Slimer to my Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Wyatt, have you busted any ghosts lately?
Well, I haven't busted any ghosts. I'm a ghost myself if I'm Slimer.
True. Very true.
I'm more like the guy that you see in the hallway going, gang, 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 munching on a peanut butter jelly sandwich or something, and scaring the pants off of poor old, trying to think of his name now.
Peter.
Bill Murray.
Yeah, Peter Venkman.
Peter. Frankman. Come in, Ray. He's here, Ray.
Well, since we had a little, what do I want to call it? Since we had a little reference to ghost busting in this episode, I thought it'd be fun to talk about Ghostbusters again. And I got a chance actually to take my oldest son to see it in the theater last year for its 30th anniversary. That was really, that was a real thrill.
I bet.
I think it was actually one of the first I've ever seen. I think it was actually one of the first movies I ever saw in the theater as a kid. So taking him along with me, that was really fun.
I bet.
But what do you think about all this news coming out with this reboot with an all-female cast? I haven't got your opinion on that yet.
Well, I guess I'm not. Please don't, listeners, don't take me sexist or anything like that. It's just odd because as listeners, we all can attest that we like the original. We like the original cast. So we always think about that. Uh, so don't dispel that I'm saying it's sexist or anything like that. I'm more shocked that it's an all-female cast. It's probably the right wording for me. Uh, I'm eager. I'm still interested to see how they perform, how they do,
Mm-hmm.
how they'll play out. If there's going to be any similarities, kind of like a sister of Venkman or sister of Egon, or if it's completely just like a
Rebooted.
new talent to the old group. Are they like, are the old guys teaching the women how to run the business? I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really in the dark. Um, I'm kind of interested to see how well it turns out. I'm not skeptical by any means, but you know, we can all attest as avid, especially the avid '80s gurus like Jason and I. We can attest to how they reboot some of the classics. For myself, it took me
Yeah.
a while to humble myself. That's probably the right word I'll use to watch the new Dukes of Hazzard movie that came out. Um, I was unimpressed with the storyline. Of course, I know that they made up the storyline in Dukes of Hazzard, the original, so I understand that. But the amount of cursing, I deal with that every day in the military. Uh, I need a break now and then. I'm sorry. So that was just absurd. The only thing I liked in that movie was the stunts with the General Lee.
General Lee, yeah.
That's all I cared about. The rest of it, they could have nixed and saved myself a lot of headache. But that's just one example. You know, there's a lot of talk. I'm on an Air Force, Airwolf forum right now, and I'm seeing a lot of backlash about them wanting to reboot, and it's just rumor mill. There's nothing even remotely
Yeah.
concrete, but there's a lot of backlash saying just keep it original, don't mess with it. And you and I can attest to the Transformers movie. It was good, in my opinion. The movie was good, had good animation, especially the first one of Michael Bay's series. But as people that were, I will call us truists, '80s of Transformers, we were kind of teed off, to put it lightly, that Optimus was not a cab over, that Megatron was not a pistol or a gun of some sort. As
Yeah.
cool as Bumblebee was, is as a Camaro, it was kind of odd to see him not as a little bug. And we don't even have the original boy. They come up with a whole new Wiggy storyline instead of. I'm trying
Yeah.
to think of the original character's name now.
It was Spike and his
Spike.
dad. His dad might have been Spike. I can't remember the boy's name, but there was actually, I think it was after the animated Transformers movie came out that there was a wiki person that actually involved in the story. So that name did have some meaning to
Okay.
the Transformers lore, but I understand where you're coming from. And
And, you're saying that. Well, I shouldn't go off on a tangent, but like
too late.
too late. So like Knight Rider, when they came out with the '08, 2008, 2009 new series, a lot of people were, again, I'll use a light word, teed off. That kit was a Ford Mustang, instead of some new car or a new GM line car. Even though Pontiac had died off, they could have
Yeah.
used a new GM car. Well, it took me a while to figure this out, but there was a small little storyline, just like you're saying about Wiki. There was a storyline where they had a Team Knight Rider. Again, it only lasted a season, but the
Hmm.
Team Knight Rider, the new kit was actually a Mustang. It was I want to say it was a early to mid '90s style Mustang. So after I did some research looking at them, I'm like, okay, I can now kind of understand why they picked the Mustang now.
Yeah.
But me first watching it, yeah, I wasn't happy. I'll be honest. I wanted to see, even though they gave a glance at the Pontiac fenders and such, I was hoping they'd use at least a Camaro or something, just because. But that's just my preference, and I'm not the writer of that movie or TV show. What is your impression? I know you've had some write-ups and such, but what's your take on the getting back
Well,
on the train track that's left us really derailed of Ghostbusters?
yeah, coming back around. I'm not I'm kind of in the middle, I guess you would say.
You're always in the middle.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear more, in other words. And from what I hear, I don't know if they're going to use any of the backstory or any of the original story at all with this one. All I want is some, like references to it. Maybe using some of the same style equipment, even if they put a Slimer in there, or give a nod to the Ecto One, the original. That's another big question.
Right.
What vehicle are they going to use? Are they going to use a vehicle at all?
Yeah.
So if those little nuances are in this reboot, I'll watch it. I'll probably enjoy it more than just totally throwing it down throwing it away because of they're all females. That really doesn't matter to me as long as all the bells and whistles of the old Ghostbusters are
Right,
there.
and that's kind of my take, really, when it comes down to it. That's my take. As long as the bells and whistles there, I don't care who they cast.
Right. And then
So
a story just came out last week about Dan Aykroyd, who has supposedly had a Ghostbusters 3 script on hand for years. I've been trying to put it together and get it going, but he thinks that the rejuvenation or whatever from this reboot might give it more hope to actually use his script and maybe somehow work their way back into the traditional story or whatever that he has using the same characters and stuff. So that
that'd be
was
great.
interesting to hear. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, or I don't even know if they'll make one past this one with the ladies. But I just want some nice references and stuff to the original, and I probably won't see it in the theater, but unless it's gets really good raves and reviews from my friends, I'll probably just wait until it comes out on Netflix or video or something. But
That's me. I'm too
anyway,
cheap anymore. I'm sorry. I'm a cheapskate when it comes to that stuff. It really has to be really captivating, like you say, before
yeah.
I make a.
Well, this year I know I'm definitely going to be in the theater a few times for. We'll probably go and see the Avengers, the second one when that comes out. I think that comes out in May, and then Jurassic World. I want to see that pretty bad. All of me and the boys are all into the Jurassic Park movies, and we've watched them all. So we're excited about that. And then you've got the new James Bond comes out in
Oh,
November.
that's right.
I've already set up a date with my wife to go see that one. That's kind of our tradition. When the new Bond movies comes out, we go opening weekend to see it. And then Star Wars is Christmas, at least for now. I know that J.J. Abrams, the director, was trying to move it up a little bit, but those are four big ones for me this year that I know I'll probably be in the theater for those ones, come heck or high water. But anyway,
Well,
we've kind of. Did you have something else there?
no, I said the only thing I was going to say is I'm so behind on the times as movies and what else is out there, TV shows. I didn't even know there's a new Jurassic Park coming out of any type. I knew about James Bond because it's kind of all over the commercials, so it's not hard to miss. Um, but Star
Yeah.
Wars, I didn't even know that was coming out. I knew they were in the works, but
Wow.
I didn't know when they were coming out. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm so behind the times. I got so many projects of my own that I'm so busy with
That's
that
that's why I'm here to update you on all this fun
you do
pop
that as much.
culture stuff.
Yeah, really.
Well, let's get quickly into our most wonderful segment. Get your mask on. And this week came into my feed that a project on the Lego Ideas website. I just screwed that up. I'm going to redo that. So a project on the Lego Ideas website recently caught my eye as I found a Thunderhawk worthy of my support. The project leader wants it to be like a 30th anniversary edition, and it features some similar construction to a set that I actually own, which is the Back to the Future DeLorean with the gull wing doors that open up. And I also heard from a couple people that, since Hasbro owns M.A.S.K and also owns the Creo building sets, that it's probably unlikely that this set will actually be created through Lego. But it would still be fun to see it reach the goal of 10,000 supporters, and have like official word and stuff come down from Lego. I think there's certain points on this Lego Ideas website where once it gets to 1,000, they officially comment, and once it gets to 5,000 or something like that. Anyway, it was really cool. If you want to check that out, go over to agentsofmask.com on our homepage, and you can scroll through the recent posts there to find the article with the link directly to the project and go support that. And Wyatt, my friend, MASKast is now up to 50 total episodes in our archive. Even though this is technically MASKast 46, right? 46?
Yes.
We split up the collecting podcast, which I think was number 22, into like 3 parts.
Yes.
We still have the Meet the Writers as our first podcast up in the archive there before it was even called MASKast. But anyway, just wanted to invite everybody to go explore the archive between shows and help us spread the word about the podcast. With the addition of the MASKast chat episodes, this is our 5th podcast already this year, so we're excited to keep cranking out new content and hope you will catch up on any missed podcasts in the archive, which you can find obviously on iTunes and Stitcher, and there's also an archive on our website if you want to just grab them off the web and save them as an MP3. And then finally, on a somber note, we didn't get any word from Toy Fair about a potential M.A.S.K comeback or any 30th anniversary merchandise. We'll keep our ear to the ground and let everybody know if we happen to catch any more rumors or definitely any official word from Hasbro about anything coming out this year. But I'm kind of crossing my fingers on that one that we'll be pleasantly surprised here before too long. And even if it's maybe towards the 30th anniversary in September, that they even make an announcement or something, I mean, that would be fine if we don't get anything produced this year. But
right.
It was, I was hoping maybe we would hear something, but who knows? I was looking through actually a Hasbro PowerPoint from the Toy Fair, their little presentation to their investors today, and they had a couple logos on there that kind of surprised me. One of them was the Micronauts. I don't know if you remember that franchise. It kind of died off in the early 80s, and it was little, I think they were 3 3/4 inch figures that were robots or something. I don't even much remember it myself, but a few years ago, Hasbro bought the rights and were going to produce a movie. And you remember that comic book too that M.A.S.K just happened to pop in? That was from that, I think it was from New York Comic Con in 2011 or something.
Oh yeah.
The Micronauts were in there too, so it seemed just odd to have that in their PowerPoint slide, because when I Googled it today to see anything that they're doing with it, nothing really came up. No announcements, no about toys or a movie or anything. So I think they've got a couple things up their sleeve that maybe we'll still get a chance to get some new mask stuff this year. So
Yeah, I'm not. I'm looking it up right now, and uh, this must have been one of those turbo boost moments because I don't remember any of this at all.
yeah, yeah, it was like I said, it was like late '70s, early '80s in that
Yeah,
realm.
it's
But
saying '79 is when it started out. So
yeah, okay. But anyway, well, guess we're done with getting our mask on. You ready to put on your proton pack and do some ghost busting?
I am ready to start. I was going to say Ghostbusters, but it's really not. The MASKast. So we come upon a city scene. Finally, something other than mountains.
I know, right?
Holy cow. Like I said, they must have been on vacation or dreaming of a mountain getaway. I don't know what was going on for four straight episodes of all.
That was crazy.
Anyway, so we come upon a city scene and are taken to Thunderhawk passing by with a small pass of the occupants, which is actually kind of a cool shot there. We have T-Bob, Bruce, Scott, and finally Matt Tracker driving, of course, his beloved vehicle. We learn quickly that they are passing through Rome, Italy, as T-Bob asks what a certain building is. Scott replies rather sarcastically that it's the Colosseum. T-Bob comments that they'll need to fix it up if they ever want to attract a major league franchise.
I thought that was kind of funny, actually.
It was actually comical, and I know eons ago when we were in school, when I saw that, I had kind of a passing thought of, when are they ever going to fix that up until, we actually got the history lesson, what it was there for.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, Scott chuckles, but there is no audible laughter there. Matt comments that Scott should like the next site as Professor Pontophone has some unusual artifacts. In the next scene, we come upon a construction site. As the men are positioning what looks to be a relic columns rather, a mist appears from the ground. There are two construction aides immediately envisioned that back away as the professor simply looks on for a brief moment. The mist changes to rings, like hypnotic type rings, and a white-robed man appears. Then all of a sudden we see four construction workers kind of appear. I was a little baffled by that. We had two aides. I would say one in the crane, and I don't know where the fourth guy came from. So that's what I was a little minor tick, but like baffled about.
Didn't notice that at all.
Then the roadman says, "Plebeians," at least that's what I thought I heard. How Palatine Hill is my resting place. How dare you disturb it? And he sounded eerily like Sly Rax. I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I'm just kidding. The professor asks his identity, to which he replies, "The most powerful general of the ages, Julius Caesar." He also indicates that he's quite ticked. With the pointing of his finger, he shoots a laser at the crane's pulley line, severing it, which sends one of the columns crashing to the ground. Now, if they refuse to obey him, they will suffer his wrath. They all flee prior to the command to depart and never return. Okay, I can't do any type of Jack Nicholson Sly Rax impressions. I'm sorry, and I know Jason will be dubbing that in to save me what face I have left.
Yeah, I enjoyed the beginning. Did you notice what kind of threw me for a loop? Like right off the bat was when Thunderhawk was going into town. The wheels were totally black. There was no hubcaps or anything. No.
I noticed that, but I guess I attributed it to being animated. But now that you mention it,
yeah.
it was completely dark. It wasn't like it was, circles or something to make it look like animation.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. That was.
Well, something else that bothers me, but I don't ever ding it, is how they draw up, especially later on, how they draw up Thunderhawk and even Hurricane or Night Stalker. It's like they're cheating the artwork. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
going a little beyond, but just like they got Thunderhawk and especially those him and Nightstar kind of got cheated out of the drawing detail.
yeah, they do take some shortcuts sometimes, and sometimes it's just to fit it in the scene. I
True.
think especially when you've got a nice panorama of the vehicles, they kind of squeeze them in there sometimes. It seems, and I mean that's even why I started doing those panoramas because there's some nice long sweeping shots
Hmm.
throughout the series, and putting it all together. There's no there's no widescreen version of Mask, out there digitized, for our viewing nowadays. But um, and back then they probably had to take some shortcuts to do
Oh
some of
yeah,
those
I
finer
imagine that.
shots. But it is kind of a tick with me too sometimes seeing stuff
Well,
that
I guess
should
it's
be
a tick
there.
because I've been watching a lot of, and forgive me, but I've been watching a lot of Disney. So I've
Hmm.
been watching a lot of Mickey Mouse, and it's like a night and day difference when you're looking at the detail they put into
Yeah,
even the old school Mickey Mouse, when they actually would beat each other up.
yeah,
Um, I just go back to look at Mask going, wow. Even Transformers, I'm going, wow, they just really shortcutted a lot of things
yeah, yeah,
to get
yeah.
it to fit. But anyway, sorry.
Yep. No, it's okay. Well, going back to the scene, we now have Matt on the scene after Caesar disappears and the men and the professor scurried away. The professor tells Matt his men were afraid to come back to work, and Scott comments that he'd like to see a ghost and that some of them can walk through walls. T-Bob says if he saw one, he'd walk through a wall. Now, I believe that. uh, Scott then finds a coin on the ground, and he thinks it's made of gold, and he reads the Italian inscription on the coin wondering wonders what it says. T-Bob hopes it's T-Bob hopes it says "Finders keepers, losers weepers." Okay, that
Of
was a
course.
roll. That was a roll my eyes moment there on that joke. Anyway, Bruce, who's on hand with Matt, notices something strange about the hook from the crane that was severed by the laser. Um, Matt asks the professor if it's okay to have some friends, quote unquote, analyze it. He's still, keeping undercover,
Of
uh,
course.
keeping the mask team undercover. But the professor says by to be Professor says, "Be my guest," as Scott walks up and asks if the professor will analyze the inscription on his coin. The professor says it's bronze, not gold, and people find them all over Palatine Hill. And Scott kind of groans that it's not some rare, coin or whatever.
Right.
We go back inside Thunderhawk, and the mass computer is now analyzing this hook and says evidence of a particle beam laser exists that it is reported to be developed by Venom. I don't know, this whole little sequence here with they could see anything wrong with this hook when the laser actually cut the cable or whatever, Uh, I don't know. I didn't make that connection there very well. But anyway, from the back seat of Thunderhawk, Scott is the word Venom and tells Matt it's a good thing that they are there to help. Well, Matt
Right.
thanks him for the offer. At least he was nice
Exactly.
about it. He wasn't totally dismissing to Scott. At this point, we know Scott's pretty energetic about being a mask agent himself. So he was at least nice when he told him to get lost. But at the same time, it's and well and then after Matt says, let me say, and then Matt says it's time for M.A.S.K to do some ghost busting, and he asks the computer for the best agents for the mission.
Right. We get Gloria with Shark, and for her, we need her for her background in archaeology. and we see her fling a girl to the ground in her karate class. She then just walks out with the girl lunging and flipping herself on her back. Hondo with Night Stalker. We need him because he's a history teacher with expertise in ancient Rome. And he slides down the school banister with the kids looking at him going, what?
I like that.
And Bruce is obviously pre-selected, but he gets Rhino. I was interested to see how, they only got 2 people back home and they're going to get 3 vehicles, but I guess they can all just drive it each into the transport plane,
Right.
which we later see anyway. So Matt approves, but I don't approve of the alarm clock beeps of their freaking watches. Holy cow!
Another one, man.
This is getting worse and worse.
It is. It's really. I don't know. It seems like it's a different sound every episode now. But they did, instead of the last couple, they used this like up-tempo song during the call-ups. But this time it was the traditional M.A.S.K theme that they used. So I was at least happy about that and just rolled my eyes, I guess, at the at the stupid sound effect.
So we in a nearby cavern, we see Dagger gets spooked by a howling cat, which is hilarious. This one, I actually laughed out loud. He does this big, like, gulp and this big fear in his eyes. I loved it.
Who's there? Yeah, whatever he says.
That's it. He looks around carefully and asks, "Who is that?" A few slow-paced footsteps are heard, and then another blood-curdling cat scream. And I recall this back to our not so 80s fun of watching the Three Stooges, the episode Dizzy Detectives, where Curly's sitting on the rocking chair and he rocks and rocks and hits the cat's tail. So that's what I was imagining this whole time when I'm seeing this. So I think that's why I was doubly laughing at this little moment here. Anyway, panicked, he runs, then crashes into the Caesar's ghost, which turns out to be Rask in a costume. Rax insults him, calling him dumb, to which Dagger seems offended. He says, "Don't call me dumb." "All right, you numbskull. That's better." Again, another Three Stooges moment here.
Yeah.
An impatient Miles appears with Rax explaining that he had to be careful not to be followed into the catacombs. He boasts about how effective his lasers were at scaring off the construction crew. Vanessa appears, scouring over his boastfulness, saying that his performance would not have gone over well had it not been for her smoke bomb. She pops another smoke bomb that pulls what looks like a Marilyn Monroe updraft moment, sporting Rax's polka dot boxers as Vanessa and Dagger get a little chuckle.
That was funny.
It was, and that's the second time we've seen Rax's
underwear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Pain to Power. I remember that pretty vividly.
Yeah, that was Pain to Power. He had the hearts, that one, I think.
You're right. At least we know he changes his underwear.
Well, at least between 2 episodes. Miles states that I was thinking they are wasting time. He states he states what I was thinking, that they are wasting time. He states there's work to do, and Venom will become invincible with the map that he must follow. We're back in Rome. We pan towards a restaurant with a waitress serving the duo 2 classic Italian dishes, spaghetti and meatballs and pizza. T-Bob asks where his order is, to which the waitress replies, "T-Bobino, here's your order of extra special olive oil." It's not extra virgin or extra. I guess they probably couldn't say that back then. So he pulls the Tin Man routine from Oz and lubes up his joints.
Yeah, that's what I had written down too. Or it reminded me a little bit of Spaceballs in Dot Matrix with they're in the desert. Oil. Anyway.
So Scott wonders if he ordered too much as he munches, then wishes that he could have gone back to the Palatine Hills. T-Bob reminds him that Matt specifically said he didn't want them digging for bronze coins. And we see the light bulb already flickering. Scott finds a loophole in this instruction, and they are looking for gold coins, not bronze. So T-Bob wonders about the food. So, T-Bob doesn't even debate this. It was hilarious. So T-Bob wonders about the food. So Scott pulls open T-Bob's, I guess, storage compartment and just dumps it all into there for later. And, and T-Bob quips that he's been converted into doggy bag mode. Ha ha.
And I actually laughed out loud at that.
You did?
That line, yeah, the doggy bag mode. I thought that was funny, and I liked it too. They had him slurping a piece of spaghetti at that one point, Scott.
Yeah.
And I thought that was fun as well. But I don't know. There's a couple times I had roll my eyes moments in this episode, but for the most part, I was laughing, laughing along with them.
Yeah. Well, I laughed at I did laugh mostly at the stooge lines and the cat howling, the spook of when Dagger got spooked. I think that's the funniest moments I've had throughout this whole episode so far.
Well, after our duo here pack up their food, we cut to Thunderhawk taking off, and we get this really long sweeping shot of the transport plane with Thunderhawk at its side, and this was a really cool shot. I ended up putting this one in a panorama and posting it on Facebook here this week. I thought that was a really cool shot. Gloria and Hondo are shown in the cockpit of the transport plane with Gloria at the controls. Matt radios in and asks them if they know about the Sword of Caesar. And Hondo kind of schools him on the legend that when he had the sword, Rome became mighty, and when he lost it, the empire fell. Bruce says that the professor told them an authentic map was stolen, and they think that Venom now has the inside track to get to this and to find the sword. Matt is scared that they might become invincible, and Hondo kind of jokes if it's authentic, if he'll have to change the student's grade from an F to an A, I guess, from a previous assignment or whatever. Matt warns them not to worry about the history because if they don't stop Venom, M.A.S.K might not have a future. So this whole, this whole scene is kind of building up the mystical power of the sword, and whoever has it can't be defeated or whatever. So Thunderhawk curls away from the transport plane as it follows behind. Now, like I said, I liked that they had Thunderhawk come alongside the plane, but this whole scene was kind of a little awkward. It made it seem like almost they were talking to Hondo and Gloria by just like poking their head out the window. Did you notice that? I mean,
I did, and I made marks on that because it just looked like they were. In a way, that was good because you'd see the back and forth. You see that they're talking at the plane or talking at Thunderhawk and back and forth. I kind of liked that, but you're right. It looked like like we saw with I think it was Dagger and or maybe Rax and Miles there in the helicopter with Switchblade. The canopy's wide open, no mic.
Yeah.
It just looked like that's kind of what it reminded me of is. Oh, I'm just going to chat with you, even though we're screaming by at 500 mile an hour. I'm just going to chat with you. Hi, how you doing?
So, and that's what kind of hit me too. They've got the doors open in Thunderhawk. You've got this huge jet, engines
screaming,
hanging off the side of this plane. How are they able to even talk at all and get any kind of audio through whatever mics they have in Thunderhawk to get?
It's Miracle Ear. They bought it late night.
I guess so. I guess it would work better if they had their masks on or something and were talking back and forth. But anyway, that was a little tick for me. But we head back to Palpatine Hill. Scott is now digging around through some rubble as T-Bob looks on from atop this like ramp or slide or something that's nearby. T-Bob complains he's tired, with Scott saying they'd only been there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I made a small little a comment there. He says, mine was T-Bob complains. Oh, what a surprise!
Right. Yeah. T-Bob then says it seems like it's been at least 10. Give him that. Well, Scott he is digging through there and he finds some kind of tunnel. And just about that time, of course, T-Bob slips from up on top of this like slide or whatever it was. He comes crashing down. He hits Scott, and they go falling through this like rubble down into this hole. And as they fall, we fade to our dramatic commercial. So, what's your impression so far of the episode? We're at the halfway point.
Well, I am ticking it a little bit. It's a decent storyline, one I can buy. Uh, I obviously like the Ghostbuster and Stooge references. Uh, I liked Thunderhawk. I liked the Thunderhawk transformation that we saw earlier, along with the back and forth and the display of the transport plane. I like that, even though even though we were talking about how it looked like they were talking
Right.
with all that noise. I know that was more of a kind of a back and forth scenario is what they were trying to achieve there.
Right.
I like the kind of clever loophole of Scott's searching for gold and not bronze. It was a little lame, but it was still a clever little
Yeah. Leave it to him to come up with something
loophole
like
that he
that.
came up with. Yeah. Uh, like I said, I love the dagger scene getting spooked. I was a little bummed. That's probably putting it mildly about the mask watch alarm, beep, whatever we want to call it. It was just lame. And if you look closely, when Gloria was radioing the first moment, her eyes were closed. I don't know if
I didn't notice that.
it's like they freeze framed or forgot to turn on the animation or something like that's what it looked like. It was only maybe a second or two, but it was long enough that it was like she was looking at the window, closed eyes,
Yeah.
and then she starts her conversation or responds to the conversation. Um, as a rating, I'm at like a 4.7.
Not
I know
even
the
a full
point.
half point.
No, not a full half point. I'm liking this so far. I really am. What about you?
Oh, I agree. I thought it was pretty good so far. Only a few, little annoyances really. The one that started out the episode, like I said, with Thunderhawk's wheels not being there, and same as you, that different alarm sound. But I only had, like I said, that one roll my eyes moment. The plot was decent so far, although the mass computer seemed to hone in on Venom a little too easy for my liking, I guess. And the lengths at which Venom will go to become invincible are a little far-fetched, but hey, it's Mayhem, and he'll try anything once if it gives him the upper hand on Mask. We've pretty much got that from the very beginning with the Death Stone and the one with the spaceship. What was that called? Can't remember that one. That was like the first couple episodes of Mask was all those kind of mystical objects
I'm trying to think of it now.
that Mayhem was trying to do. So he's this is kind of fits within the Mask universe pretty well. I did get some nice laughs with the doggy bag mode and Vanessa's smoke bomb, and I did like the transport plane shot, even though, like we talked about, it seemed like they were hanging out the windows. But I'm around a 4.5 on my Maskometer right now, so things are going pretty well, at least better than the last couple episodes, I think, for me. So we head out of the break.
Right. Returning from the commercial, we see the duo continue to fall and scream. Then T-Bob seems to latch onto a tree root, with Scott then grabbing onto T-Bob. With no comment about the fall, which I would have been sure that he would have said, "Oh, what a fall," or "Man, that was close," or something. There was nothing. Scott just like beams when he notices that there's more coins on the cavern floor. They both hop off this route and begin to examine what their find. Scott is disappointed that he found another bronze coin, with T-Bob quipping that some of his best friends are bronze.
I thought that might have been a nice little Star Wars reference there to C-3PO.
Yes. Yes.
Some of his best friends are bronze. I don't know.
So, a small comment. T-Bob looked like he was oddly drawn on this particular area, this particular scene. It was just he looked off to me when they were for the drawing. I'm sorry. Um, just to me. Anyway, curiosity strikes Scott, and they begin to walk as T-Bob asks where they are. Scott replies that it is the catacombs. T-Bob then thinks of a clever plan to leave a trail of pepperoni to find their way back. However, his clever idea is thwarted by an even clever, more so hungry tunnel cat. We are taken back to Venom, where they are discussing their lack of finding this sword. Miles states that there are 2 likely locations. He has Vanessa and Dagger come along with him while he sends Rax all solo on his own to check out the catacomb location, which was kind of odd. You know, there's 3 to 1. Why?
Yeah.
I didn't understand this. I guess maybe it's because Rax is always kind of bickering and no one wants to deal with him anymore. I don't know.
It could be. I mean, it could be that he's probably the laziest out of all of them, and he wants them to do some work for once.
Maybe. Nonetheless,
it wasn't like he was doing any heavy lifting anyway. He's just shooting lasers from his
fingers,
from his bike.
The disgruntled Rax replies, "Do you expect me to dig out of a catacomb myself?" Without hesitation, Miles instructs him, "That's my orders. Now get going." They ride off in Manta and Jackhammer only. I don't see Piranha in this, and that's we don't see it till towards the end, but it kind of baffled me. I thought maybe Rax took one or the other vehicle, and then they all climbed in the other one. I didn't see, like I said, I didn't see Piranha ride off.
It was there leading into the scene. They descended on the Venom vehicles, and all 3 of them were there.
Were they? I missed it there.
Yeah, it was right at the beginning of the scene. So, okay. Let me take it from there.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So, back at the city, some tourists are throwing coins in this fountain, and this girl tells her friend about the history of the fountain as she then feels the ground shake. Down below, we see Jackhammer using its grill guns to fire at this wall. It then converts with Mayhem in the turret. I was thinking that was the first time we've seen Mayhem up in the Jackhammer turret.
Yes.
Since we've been reviewing the series. And he starts blasting at the wall, saying there might be some hidden chamber behind it. The people above ground are now scattering as this fountain begins to collapse, basically. We are then taken to inside Rhino, where Bruce radios to Matt that he picked up a police report of trouble at this fountain. Matt radios over to Gloria that she's the closest, and she should pursue it. Up ahead, a woman is now the same woman from before. She's being sucked down this large crack in the ground. The shark appears now with Gloria, saying she thirsts for adventure or something. I don't know.
That's what it was. Thirst for adventure.
It was that was a roll my eyes battle cry there. But shark converts and I guess flies overhead and.
Yeah, that one didn't make sense because you don't see Shark after that.
No, I don't know. It was weird. Gloria calls for her mask, and then she uses the aura to funnel the water away from this woman. Essentially, she's going down a drain in this road, and she funnels the water away from her to save her. And this man asks if she's okay, and she says next time they'll go to the desert instead of Rome, tourists. But yeah, this whole scene with Shark, I think of it more of as an underwater vehicle, and having it convert there and kind of fly overhead, I was like, does it fly too? Or I've never seen it fly before, but
Maybe it gets a longer hop. You know,
something.
like Kit and Turbo Boost versus General Lee and a dip. Turbo Boost gets a little longer hop. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
reaching there.
yeah. I don't know. It was kind of different there, but anyway.
Yeah.
Um, but then we get Night Stalker and Rhino arriving on the scene, and Hondo notices that Jackhammer is below through this like crack in the road. Matt says defense mode, and he calls for his mask.
Actually, he didn't call for the mask this time.
Oh, he didn't? It just dropped? Okay.
No, this time. I'm sorry. I was completely mistaken. You were right. You were right.
Okay.
He did call for it here. Later on, he doesn't call for it.
Okay. Okay. And then we see Lifter lowering onto Bruce, and he activates it basically through the windshield of Rhino to first pick up this piece of the road, and then he is able to somehow pick up Jackhammer out from under this path, this catacomb in the ground, and basically plops it down on the street up above. And I wasn't fond of this sequence, really. At first, the lifter sound was different than what
Yes.
we're normally hearing from it. And second, we've never seen lifter pick up like two separate things at once. We've seen like it pick up debris that was falling, like a bunch of rocks is coming off a cliff.
Right.
I think it might have been the Secret of Life episode where some rocks are falling off a
I think that's it. Yeah.
pyramid towards a bus, and
Right.
I think he moves the bus actually in that one. But anyway, we've seen it pick up like debris before, but it was like it picked up this and then it picked up another thing separately. I don't know. Just didn't seem weird. It seemed weird to me that
Yeah.
do that. But anyway, then we get Mayhem wondering what's going on, and then he notices that M.A.S.K is on hand.
Sorry, I'm looking for where you left off.
That's okay.
Mine's in the same paragraph. Okay, so Hondo
This is
gets in on the action. He transforms Night Stalker, then jettisons his spare tire, which lands in front of Jackhammer. Dagger quickly re-engages the hood shield, even saying the command, which was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, never seen that one before either.
No. Then the tire comically rolls up the Bronco and smacking Mayhem right in the face. That was hilarious.
And it even looked like he left a tread mark or something on his leg. Not sure how it did that with the cover on it, but his face was still red after he got.
Yeah, that was hilarious. I liked it. So Vanessa is screaming by in Manta and identifies Thunderhawk being on her tail, which that seems odd that she knows the name of the vehicle. She transforms Manta into jet mode and flies off with Thunderhawk doing the same. The two jets split in their chase, with Vanessa making a threat to call off M.A.S.K or the Forum will get it. Matt gives in and calls off each M.A.S.K agent, telling them to let Venom go.
Mm-hmm.
Manta transforms back to car mode as it lands, which actually was pretty sweet.
It landed like in a tight space there under these trees too.
It did, and what I realize we're reaching here for cartoon and such, but
yeah.
Have you ever paid attention how Manta actually transforms? The wings have to actually flip and rotate around.
Yeah, yeah. It's
not the most practical jet car combination.
No, it definitely is different than the actual toy too, because the wings are on like hinges almost under the car that flip out, and this is totally different. And the way the rear engines also come out is a little bit different as well, and how that back kind of folds in half to open up to the engines. But Yeah, I did like. There was a brief moment there where Manta and Thunderhawk are flying amongst these ruins, and I
Yes,
thought that was really good.
I agree. We are then taken back to Rax here, uh, and here's where he makes a bit of sense with Piranha. Like I said, I didn't see it in the scene, so now I see Piranha. He's there. He took off in a different direction.
Hmm.
Um, anyway, Rax is blasting through of course, a different wall. He's unaware of what's going on above ground. As he melts through the wall, Rax is aghast as he sees the sword, even taking off his cool Ray-Bans.
That was a great moment. I think I actually used that in that that one little video where he's doing all the crashes,
Oh
and
yeah,
I made it look like he was doing that to Vanessa when she was in her dress. But yeah, it's strange to something's up when he takes off his sunglasses.
yeah. Elated, he picks up the sword, and his first comments begin with that Mayhem would be glad when he gives it to him, but then he quickly says, "Why should he? He's tired of being ordered around.
Yeah.
He keeps the sword. He'll be as powerful as Caesar." Just then, Mayhem calls Rax on the walkie-talkie, demanding his progress. Rax replies with a stern "bug off."
And I love it. I was laughing so hard.
I actually liked Dagger's reaction. It was like, did he just say what I think he said?
Right.
Which is hilarious because I'm thinking, more adult-wise when someone says that, I'm thinking, did he just say, "Wow"? But it was hilarious nonetheless. I
Oh,
like
it was
that. That's just
great.
funnier than I remember it. It's been a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're back to our dynamic duo. Scott is dismayed as they have not found one treasure yet. He then suggests that they go back with a quick joke about being down there to their last anchovy. They turn around and discover that their trail has disappeared. And then we hear another little quick burp with T-Bob. I laughed at this one. T-Bob asking if you heard a cat burp.
Yeah, that was kind of odd.
They,
How does he know what a cat burp sounds like?
I
'Cause I've
know,
never
and
heard
I
that.
actually, I'm still chuckling now. You can hear me. They turn and see the cat come up and burp again as it lays down. I guess he's fat and happy now. T-Bob wonders why they didn't order Chinese. Scott begins to say, "You know what this means?" With T-Bob responding that they don't have a found department down there.
Yeah,
Ha ha.
and here's where they come back up on Rax, who is like polishing off this sword. I'm assuming it's been a little dusty down there, and
I'm sure.
by this time too, I think we forgot to mention that Mayhem is kind of on to Rax, and there's only one reason that he would have told him to bug off. It's because he had found the sword, so they're
Right.
kind of after trying to find Rax at this point too. But as they approach Rax, T-Bob accidentally kicks a rock, and Rax hears it, and they take off, and Rax gives chase. Uh, Rax he grabs T-Bob as he ejects his doggy bag compartment onto Rax, giving him a spaghetti bath. That was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Uh, just then we get this herd of cats out of nowhere that comes and starts chasing Rax, who's just dripping with spaghetti. He drops the sword to avoid the cats, and then we get Scott picking it up, admiring that it must be real gold and jewels on the sword.
Yeah. He's like he just doesn't even care that it's a sword. He cares
Yeah,
more about what it's made of.
right. It's like he, didn't get the history lesson beforehand or whatever. He just wants he knows that it's valuable because it's gold and the jewels that are on it. But anyway, up ahead, Jackhammer kind of corners Rax as he's running away, and Mayhem asks for the sword in exchange for forgetting what he said to him over the radio. Well, Rax tells him that he dropped it. I dropped it, or however he said it. I don't know, that cracked me up the way he said it. But
Yeah.
then after he tells Mayhem this, we cut right to Thunderhawk taking off again, and this is, I believe, the same sequence as we saw before. We get Matt overhead. scanning the catacomb with his sonar, and he picks up what he thinks is T-Bob, with presumably Scott riding him, and the Venom vehicle's right on his tail. Well, Matt says they are headed for the Coliseum, and Scott, we cut back to him, and he's now riding T-Bob, as Matt assumed, in scooter mode, and they appear inside the Coliseum. Venom then appears behind with Mayhem asking where the kid is, and he's still up in Jack Hammer's turret at this point. Night Stalker and Shark, we see them now enter the Coliseum, with Rhino having to stop, and Bruce gets out and gets into the fifth wheel buggy. I guess the doorway had low clearance there or something. I didn't understand why.
That's what I thought, and I'm like you. I'm thinking that they did that. I mean, I'm sure they did it just to advertise Rhino's features, but in looking at an old relic, I'm sure the building probably didn't have a big enough entryway like Rhino was, like you think.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if it's much taller than like Jackhammer with that turret, extended out.
True.
But I think you were right. It was more of a let's show off one of Rhino's features here. And he took off in the buggy, and then Bruce drives in the buggy with Thunderhawk now flying overhead. And inside, the vehicles are now somewhat on a collision course with Venom, and Matt instructing to keep them busy while he finds a place to land. Vanessa uses the whip mask to snatch the sword away from Scott, kind of like a Ghostbusters
proton pack, yeah.
Proton pack beam, and she wraps it around the sword, and right as she is going to grab it in her hands, Mayhem kind of hoodwinks it from her and tells her, "Good job," and she kind of gives this frustrating, look for losing the sword, and while she's upset, she accidentally drives into this like rubble or something that's inside the Coliseum, causing the hatchback to pop open and spilling some of her smoke bombs. Well, Gloria then uses Aura to kind of cut through the smoke and manage somehow to grab a few smoke bombs still intact.
Right.
And says she'll save them for later.
Next, we see a very confident Miles standing up atop of the turret, and you have this on the Facebook page.
Yeah.
Holding his mask in his left hand and a raised sword in his right, announcing, "This is the end, Mask. I have the sword of Caesar." Just then, Matt lands and shouts, "Big deal. I dare you to try it out on me." He races Thunderhawk towards Jackhammer. Scott looks on in confusion. Then a burst of smoke appears. A gleeful Miles says that M.A.S.K has met its end. He then looks to his right to see Thunderhawk racing towards him again. Dumbfounded, Miles is sure that he destroyed Thunderhawk. All four M.A.S.K vehicles are now racing at different angles, head on to the three Venom vehicles that are basically all together, with a very confused and now panicked Mayhem. Matt informs Miles that the sword never had power. He simply has a dud. Miles restates that what Matt says and then chucks it away. He sits back down in the turret and starts spraying laser beams as they race away. M.A.S.K stops with Scott racing over gladly that his dad is okay. He saw the explosion, but Gloria walks up showing Scott the smoke bombs, as she says they gave Venom a taste of their own medicine. Then Matt explains how he was able to go through and come out a different location, the same one that he had actually emerged from. Scott did. Scott is confused why he went through all this trouble. And Matt said it was no trouble since he was trying to divert Miles's attention away from Scott. Scott
because he shouldn't have been there in the first place.
Well, yeah, he shouldn't have. He found that loophole. Scott hugs his dad with Bruce walking up, asking if he'd like a souvenir. Scott is excited, but says that he's found a great use for the sword of Caesar. Matt asks for what. Scott opens up T-Bob's doggy bag compartment and says for cutting pizza. And everyone laughs as we fade out and fade into a PSA.
Yes, and Scott is washing some oranges. T-Bob says it looks great, but Scott reminds him that it's too bad robots can't eat. One of the oranges, while they're at the sink, one of the oranges falls into the drain. T-Bob says he'll get it, but with Scott demanding, don't touch it. And any food that falls into the garbage disposal should not be touched because you never know when someone might come along and accidentally hit the power switch. Didn't we see this one?
We saw a very similar one, except it was with a fork. But yes, it was the same PSA. I was a little dismayed that they did basically a reboot.
Yeah, I was too, and I don't know. This whole garbage disposal thing. I don't know if they were different back in the 80s or whatever, but what are you supposed to do if anything kind of gets stuck in there? Just leave it there forever, and or get like a stick to push it down in there? I don't know.
Well, I think garbage disposals, at least for me, they were a nuance back in the day,
right?
Back in our era, when except like not like now, where it seems to be almost commonplace in most homes.
Right.
So I guess they wanted to double up and make sure that kids got the point. You don't reach in there. Adults, we know, we know, hopefully, to stay away from the power button when we're reaching in for that fork. Nonetheless, there might be a couple iffy people out there that might try it.
Yeah. Well, after our recycled PSA here, what did you rate the episode?
Well, I gave it a 4. I found a lot of humor in it. I didn't realize I liked it. So I liked some of the funny parts, like the cat burp that T-Bob identifies. The kind of Marilyn Monroe moment with Rax. I guess overall, really, though, I enjoyed this episode. I'll be honest, it seems to be the best of the few in this, I would call it season 3 that we're in. Is it season 3 we're in? So is it season 4 now?
Yeah.
At least that's what we're calling it. But nonetheless, it was one of the best that we've had for a while. Still not a 5, noteworthy of a 5, though. I'll keep going with the highlights. I still enjoy the details of the transformations. They seem to be there. I like that they used the tandem car or the fifth wheel buggy of Rhino there at the Coliseum. That was actually a good add-on to it. It may not be needed to be explained, but it was good. I still liked it. We actually had a good couple of battles and some mask use, finally. A fair amount, I would say.
Yeah.
Scott and T-Bob had their part. To some degree, there was some overkill here and there, but they were still, I would say, decently used in this episode. They weren't pesky. They weren't just there for the lame jokes like they have been in the past. I guess what got me the most really was, I'm having to scroll up here to find it. I was not impressed with the little drawing. I shouldn't have taken it as much, but the odd drawing of T-Bob that I noticed when they had just landed in the catacombs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess I was still dismayed a little bit with back some time ago. We saw the 4 construction workers. To me, that fourth person was just I don't know where he came from, and I guess I wanted more explanation of that. It shouldn't. Uh, as a kid, we didn't care, but now I'm like, well, I can see three. I can't see why there's a fourth construction worker. Um, then shark jumping into the fountain uh, in uh, I guess sub mode for what? I guess that was really got that what threw me for the big curve. You know, why was that? Why did she use it for that? Except just to maybe as an advertising technique. However, they didn't even come out with a shark, so why they
Right.
even bother? Uh, um, so yeah, I I'm at right at a solid 4. I could go a little higher, but not. I couldn't even make it a 4.5 in my eyes. So, uh, what say you?
Well, after the PSA there that they used over again, I was kind of more towards the middle. I wasn't blown away with the episode, but I didn't feel like it was a letdown either. But I thought it was, like you said, a little bit better than the last couple that we've watched in this 31 to 40 section of the show. So I ended up giving it a 3.5, and I rounded to 4. I think I had just the two kind of roll my eyes moments in the episode, but compared to usual, I thought T-Bob's jokes were pretty relevant and, dare I even say, funny. Rax's bug off,
Did you?
line
Yeah,
that
that was good.
that really made me laugh, and so I guess the writers kept me pretty entertained in this episode, and I didn't notice some of those little nuances that you did with the drawing of T-Bob and the construction worker there suddenly appearing. So I really like the shot of Miles on top of the jackhammer, on top of jackhammer with the sword. If I had to put a top 10 list of the best moments so far in the whole series that we've been going over, I'm pretty confident that that moment would be in there.
Yeah.
It was just kind of a, what you gonna do now, Mask? I finally got the upper hand on you, and it turns out it was a whole much ado about nothing. But I don't know. It was just a cool moment that I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Like I said, I liked the little mini dogfight there with Thunderhawk and Manta among the ruins. I liked what I interpreted as subtle nods to Ghostbusters and Star Wars in the episode. It was like the writers were aware of basically what other shows and stuff were going on, and they kind of wrote that into the script subtly, without
Right.
directly referencing it. But the animation, it continues to be different, and I think in a good way from like about the first 30 episodes. I think it was Lost Riches of Rio. I think that was episode 30 that really wowed me and made it feel like a different cartoon. And this episode, there were some nice like side view close-ups of the characters, especially Matt when I think he was in Thunderhawk that one time, and he was talking. I don't know. I feel like the animation has improved from the first 29 episodes or whatever, but there's still some mistakes being made that we're catching,
Yes.
obviously, too. So it's not like it's perfect, but it seems like they're taking enough chances and they're trying to make it different for the viewer. The bad
Right.
things, like I said, the recycled PSA. It wasn't that long ago that we had that same one. Maybe it'd have been better if Scott was rinsing off some tomatoes to make some homemade pizza sauce or something. Even a little bit like that would have been enough to differentiate and try to incorporate with the episode itself. But it just felt like it was a straight, like, oh crap, we forgot to write a PSA this time. All right, well, let's go back and grab it. One we
Right.
already did. The battle at the end was somewhat disappointing to me. I liked that they had Venom pinned down right in the middle of the Coliseum there. You know, just the thought of that sounds pretty cool, and you know that they had to do that smoke bomb trick instead of really battling it out. Well, I guess you can't have too much laser fire, I guess, in an episode or something. I don't know, but it was just seemed like it was going to be a pretty dramatic moment there, but just never developed, and Venom was able to sneak away, you know.
Right.
And then that lifter sequence, you know, it took me out of the episode for a moment. Like I mentioned before, the logistics of it didn't sit well with me. And then, and I'm still not happy with the person that's in charge of the sound effects. I mean, between the masks and the watch alarms, you know, I really think the series would have been served a lot better to keep those consistent. And I mean, you know, what if the transforming sound from Transformers had changed, you know, in the middle of the that might be a bit over the top, but you know, what
Oh
if
no, it's about that. I mean, it's just like that though.
what if the laser sounds from G.I. Joe weapons were changed or something?
Right.
It just there's some things I think should have been precedent throughout the whole cartoon. They should have left it there, so we get that each time, or we get it when it happens. It's something we're excited to see and we're used to, and kind of ties the series together more. Where I don't know, just these sound effects, they almost make you seem like it's a different cartoon or something sometimes. I don't mind them dropping new stuff, but if you're going to do something new, do it for a few episodes or something, and then
Exactly.
you want to go back or whatever. But I don't know. I'm just not happy with the sound effects. And then just a few ticks I had. This I wouldn't even call this a tick, but this might be the first episode we didn't get Switchblade.
That is true.
I didn't remember one beforehand that didn't have Switchblade, which is kind of different and cool, you know. I thought maybe Rhino wasn't really necessary in this episode. You know, I like that we got to see the fifth wheel buggy, but like you said at the beginning, two agents trying to drive three vehicles into the transport plane, and you know Bruce could have just easily have rode in shotgun in Thunderhawk in this episode.
Oh yeah.
So I don't remember Rhino even having a conversion shot or anything other than just to get that fifth wheel buggy in the episode. You know,
that's it.
Wasn't really used. He might have fired a few shots when he was flying in at 50 miles an hour towards the middle of the Coliseum, but I don't know. And then we probably all could have guessed at the beginning of the episode that this sword would turn out to be useless. But I don't know. I didn't seem to be let down as much as, like, for instance, the Secret of Life tablet. In that episode, what's the Secret of Life? And it's love, or I can't remember what it was at the end of the episode. And I was like, yeah, I knew that was coming. And then, like I said, I think the Thunderhawk sequence was recycled at the end there, and we've used that. I'm pretty sure we've used that same sequence before in other episodes, and it's okay for them to use it over again, but when you see the same thing happen twice, at least now, when we're reviewing it, we notice it a lot more than we did when we were kids. We didn't care. So,
of course.
Thunderhawk taking off, whatever. But anyway, all right. What about similarities to our movie script?
Well, the only one I got was where Vanessa identifies Thunderhawk, and in our movie, they basically identify Condor. But that's about all I got. It was a real loose similarity, but it was there. Did you see anything?
I was trying to remember that scene, but the only thing I really took away was Rex's kind of attitude and defiance towards Mayhem, and his overall personality. We have mentioned many times before that we tried to keep the characters similar to how they're portrayed in the animated series, and there's several times in the script where Rax is very sarcastic towards Mayhem and well, everybody really, and he does have a couple of those, I guess, kind of bug off moments. It seems like,
Yes.
if I remember correctly. So, yeah, that's definitely in our movie script where Rex's personality. So, well, let's head over to the poll, and we had what 12? Let's see, 12 votes this week, and it looked like everybody's pretty much in agreement with us. We
Yeah,
had
we have two votes for a 5, 8 votes for a 4, and two threes. So I would say the majority is with us.
yeah, 67%.
Right.
So that's good. And then we had two comments. We had our buddy Scott Crawford, who left a pretty lengthy comment about this episode. He says, it's an okay episode, but it does have some issues. The laser seemed to come out of Sly's finger when he was dressed as Julius Caesar. How does that work? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he had a little contraption there that he, I can't remember what they said. They said something about Venom's, some device or something, how they identified that they were on the scene. Scott also says, Thunderhawk at times looks out of proportion, but much of the rest of the cartoon looks great. I think that's what you noticed a little bit there. Why is it that Bruce Sato has to use a mic to contact the others, but when they reply, they are holding mics in their hands? I assume that this was a device to let us know that they were all talking to each other over a radio, and only the first person speaking needs to use it to get that point across. So I didn't really notice that. Was that for the when they're near the transport plane?
That's when they're driving down through Rome.
Oh, okay.
When he's getting that call that they're hearing the police saying, "Hey, we hear them at the fountain."
Yeah, and then Scott continues. I was confused by Bruce using his lifter mask to lift up the road to expose Jackhammer, and using his mask to lift it out from its subterranean highway. Where did Rhino drive if he just lifted up the road in front of him? Anyway,
that's true.
He had to come to the same things that I was talking about there. The idea of the spare wheel turning round as Hurricane converts, I liked. It added a little touch to the simple conversion that you guys already alluded to in your review of the toy line. The whole part of that sequence is great with the conversion, the wheel being fired, Cliff Dagger using the shield to protect him, but his boss, Miles Mayhem, getting hit squarely in the face of it. It was great to see Miles Mayhem in the gunner's seat of Jackhammer for the most part of this episode. It really is a vehicle that requires a co-pilot. He looked like a knight riding into battle high up on his horse. He continues, getting to see Sly Rax's eyes as he finds the sword is great, and then when he shows his true colors in portraying Mayhem is also great. I'm not too sure that the whole idea of Rax being scared off by some street cats really worked for me. I mean, where was his mask all this time? Couldn't he have used that to see them off? Apologies for these comments, Doug Stone, if you are reading. I know you are a cat lover. And then Scott finishes, why didn't T-Bob convert to motor scooter mode to aid the escape for Rax? To aid in the escape from Rax. When he did eventually convert, I wasn't fond of his engine noise. It sounded pretty poor. I did kind of notice that as well. It was a different noise for him. It almost sounded like a jalopy, going down the highway. And then Scott finishes, it was a nice touch when Bruce got out of Rhino and into the ATV. Great to see this vehicle being used. So we appreciate that comment. And then also we had one from our buddy Anna.
Right. This is a good episode. I like it when we see Rax operating on his own. It's interesting that he tries to keep the sword for himself, but it's also interesting that we see single members of Venom or Mask, except for Matt Trekker, alone making independent decisions like this. We normally just see them together with the others. I also remember that this episode made me hungry the first time I saw it, and I actually bought spaghetti and meatballs like we see here. That's cool. I didn't feel hungry because I watched it after lunch, so I didn't have to have that problem. But like you, I do like seeing the independence that we see of the characters when they're having to act on their own.
Yeah, that
Um,
was pretty cool. I did like it when they try to do their own thing and kind of get away from me. I'm just playing.
right.
So, well, that I guess about does it for our review, and we appreciate everybody tuning in. Our next episode to review will be number 34, Peril in Paris. The plot of this consists of Buddy Hawks disguising himself as Venom agent Cliff Dagger in order to infiltrate Venom's secret base in Paris. There he discovers Venom's there he discovers their secret plan to find a Nazi doomsday machine.
Hmm.
So this sounds pretty cool that we're getting some disguising and infiltrating, and that's some. I hope it sounds like might be the best episode so far, but we'll have to see that for our own. But,
Right, and they're just only going up over the Alps to go to Paris.
right.
So,
But yeah, I've got a couple ideas maybe for an upcoming MASKast chat, so we'll see if we can put another one of those together in the near future as well. But in the meantime, thanks as always for listening and downloading, and hope you'll continue to interact with Agents of M.A.S.K on our social media pages.
right, and like Jason said, we have a great time. We really thank you once again for joining us, being a part of us, and as always, thanks for listening to MASKast.
And that will about do it for our recording session. So if you were listening or if you're now viewing this on YouTube, we appreciate you doing that, and you're actually getting your MASKast a little bit early.
That's right. You get the raw, unedited version.
I have to edit out all those cuss words, that we use during the episode. No, we appreciate everybody tuning in. We hope you'll do so in the future and keep a lookout for these recording sessions and some other special episodes that we'll be doing on Google Hangouts. So for now, we say goodbye, and we'll talk to you soon.
See ya.